Did it again. The libs and their climate doomsday squads, we're all going to die. They moved their hysteria goalposts again. This time the experts at the United Nations warn we have to end fossil fuels now. You better do it now, or we're all going to burn. The planet will be beyond the point of no return sometime after 2030. It keeps moving. It never ends. So I sat down with an actual climate expert, Mark Morano, who debunked the Biden administration's ridiculous claims with actual facts. Let's get right to it. We're going to go through three pieces of video here, Mark, and I want you to debunk them one by one. Here's claim number one. Listen to this piece of audio from the Biden administration about storms getting worse, the apocalypse coming. Excuse me. Check this out.
Mother Nature let her wrath be seen in the last 2 years. Floods, droughts, all the things. And so people can't deny it anymore.
Mark, you can't deny it. It's all getting worse. We're all going to die. Floods and droughts. Your thoughts?
It is completely science-free. There's always going to be floods, droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires. That's the history of the Earth. That's completely normal. What's key here is if you look at the peer-reviewed literature and even buried in United Nations climate reports and the national climate assessments, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, droughts, wildfires are either not increasing or they are declining on climate timescales of 30, 50, 100 years. There is no debate on that. It's not happening. They can find shorter periods and say since 2014 this area of California had an increase, but they cannot do it on a global scale. It is just designed to scare people to accept their total government control solutions on climate.
Those numbers always get in the way of a good story with the left. Mark, here's claim number two about temperature increases. Take a listen.
Sure.
We don't keep the temperature from going above 1.5 degrees Celsius raised. Now we're in real trouble. That whole generation is damned. I mean, that's not hyperbole.
Mark, we're damned. 1.5%, 1.5 degree hike. We're all going to burn, and the Earth's going to burn, or whatever. Is it any veracity to that claim?
No. In fact, the United Nations, during the ClimateGate scandal, when all the emails were released, a top UN scientist, Phil Jones, said, where did we even get this number, this temperature of 1.5, 2 degrees? He said it was likely pulled from thin air with no science behind it. Another scientist, Dr. Roger Pilkey Jr., analyzed it. This is a political talking point, not based on science. And more importantly, we're in the 10% coldest period of Earth's geologic history. 90% of Earth's history has been warmer than today, with higher CO2 levels than today. And the idea with that word damned, as he says, that's invoking the language of religion to allegedly talk about science.
Good point. And that's what it is. Claim number three, Mark, take a listen.
Sure.
Green energy's cheaper, but no one seemed to figure it out but the government. Take a listen.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. We can do solar, we can do wind cheaper than we can do fossil fuels. So it's a matter of transitioning.
Wow, Mark, those dopey capitalists just haven't figured it out. It's just so much cheaper. Your thoughts on that?
You know, I think it's easier to transition your gender than it is to green energy. There's just no way to put this. This green energy is not green, it's not clean, and it's not cheaper to replace fossil fuels. It requires fossil fuels to make green energy, wind and solar. It requires more reliance on China. It requires rare earth mining. And renewables dig the earth. Not in a Brady Bunch 1970s kind of way that they dig it, but I mean in a deep earth digging way. And what's amazing here is none of Biden's supporters could care less about China, Venezuela, OPEC in the Middle East exploring their fossil fuels, but the horror if we do it here. Suddenly America's evil. They could care less about all these other regimes doing it with lower human rights and lower environmental standards. Solar and wind, by the way, less than 5% of our total energy production, not replacing fossil fuels. You go back 100 years, 80% of the earth, of the world was fossil fuel produced energy. 100 years later, current day, 80% is still fossil fuels. Nothing's happening quick without major technological breakthroughs.
Such a great job. See, this is why our audience is so much smarter than the left. We bring people like you on who have this thing called numbers and facts. It always gets in the way of their story, magically. Mark, thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.